In some unfortunate news, two former AEW stars are now out with injury as the company continues to deal with a bit of the injury bug that has plagued them over the last number of months. We're going to talk about everything we know about these situations. Who are the two stars? What's going on? I'm going to fill you in. We're also going to get into how it's going to impact the company. And later on, in some WWE news, where the hell is WrestleMania 41 going to be? We all thought it was going to be in Minneapolis. However, that looks like it's no longer the case, according to a new report. We'll get into all that, much more, right here in this video. First of all, I'm Omer Q for Real Take Wrestling. Be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Let's get right into it. So, without further ado, let's talk about the injuries. Powerhouse Hobbs and Julia Hart are both out with injuries. And it's unfortunate when you consider that these are two former AEW, TBS, and TNT champions in their own right. These are two of arguably AEW's fastest rising stars. I know that Powerhouse Hobbs has been a bit of a start and stop situation, but Julia Hart, it's undeniable. Her rise in 2023, many people, including myself, consider her to be one of the most improved stars in all of AEW. And it's unfortunate to see both of them out, especially when you consider both of them are coming off of two championship matches over the last number of days. Hobbs, of course, in that match with Jon Moxley for the IWGP World Championship. And then, of course, Julia Hart, who ended up dropping the belt to Willow. So let's talk about their situations as FightfulSelect.com had an update for us. Here's the quote from Fightful.com. Quote, Julia Hart is again sidelined with an injury. Hart has faced a few injury problems recently and is expected to be off television. Hart recently returned, but was injured again in the weeks leading up to AEW Dynasty, where she dropped the TBS Championship to Willow Nightingale. Early indications were that Julia Hart would require surgery on the injury, although specifics on what it is aren't known. She is not planned for upcoming AEW TV as things stand. As I said earlier, Julia Hart, one of AEW's fastest rising stars. It's unfortunate to see her out like this. I mean, when you go back to AEW Wrestle Dream when she was gearing up to win that TBS championship, you could argue there was no faster rising star in the entire company than Julia Hart. She was getting over. She had a great gimmick. She had a fantastic entrance. I still think one of the best entrances in all of professional wrestling. And it felt like she had just gotten her character down. Like, the presence this woman has when she's out there is second to none. She has made herself, in spite of the, again, start and stop we've seen from members of the House of Black, it's almost as if she has been immune to all of that. And she's kind of been weirdly on an island of her own, and for good reason, because she is on an island of relevancy. When you look at the House of Black, like Buddy Matthews, Malachi Black, and Brody King, yes, they're all over and they're great wrestlers, but it just does not feel like they're continuously part of a story on AEW TV. It just feels like they're kind of there a lot of times. However, with Julia Hart, she is, you could argue, like integral to the show. Like, she's by far, like, very integral to the women's division in AEW, and that's why it is such a massive loss not having her on TV. I think especially, like, the stuff that she was doing with Sky Blue, like, that was going somewhere. And I think that, you know, not seeing where that's going to be, and hopefully we get to see it soon. Hopefully Julia Hart is not out for a prolonged time, but whenever you have surgery, depending on what it is, obviously, but whenever you have surgery factored in, you know, the timetable could be a couple of months for all we know. So shout out to Julia Hart. Hopefully she gets better soon. Hopefully she heals up and we get to see her, because if you're AEW, you 100% would rather have Julia Hart on your TV show than not have her on your TV show. That's for damn sure. She is one of your best talent by far. In another update on Powerhouse Hobbs this time, Fightful Select has confirmed that Will Hobbs' injury, as reported by Brian Alvarez of Wrestling Observer, we're told that it is a significant injury and that Hobbs isn't expected to be back anytime soon. Unfortunate doesn't even begin to describe this situation. I mean, Powerhouse Hobbs is everything. Like he really is like built like in a way that you would want your pro wrestler to be built. He is massive. He is strong. He's got the meat, the beef, as people would say. Shout out to Big E, big meaty men slapping meat. This guy has it all. Like and especially when you consider, as a fan of Powerhouse Hobbs, honestly, I am pretty upset by this news. I mean, the Don Callis family, right, it got off to a weird start, but I feel like over the past few months, especially since they added Will Ospreay, it feels like they just got into a groove with it. And we saw things like, Takeshita now trying to challenge Jon Moxley for the IWGP Championship. We've saw Powerhouse Hobbs challenge for the IWGP Championship. We've seen Will Ospreay go off and have matches to determine the number one contender for the International Championship. Like, they are all kind of chasing belts at this point, and it felt like we were going somewhere with that. We felt like we were building up this super faction where you got the big guy in Powerhouse Hobbs, you have the wrestler in Will Ospreay, like everyone knows he's the best, and then you have the heel into Konosuke Takeshita. Like it felt like they were building up something really special there. And credit to Hobbs, he went out there against Jon Moxley on Wednesday night and had a spectacular match where, people were saying, myself included, were like, man, is he the right person to have this first IWGP match, IWGP Championship match, on AEW TV? I was proven wrong. He was great. I thought it was a fantastic match. And, it got obviously a bit weird in the end. That was due to the injury that we saw. Man, like nothing but good wishes, though, to Powerhouse Hobbs. I think he has a big future, not only in AEW, but this business as a whole. He's a future world champion. This is a guy who, I'm telling you, is going to do great things. And get well soon, my guy. Bad to see that, but guys, let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comments section below. Be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. As we move on to our next and final topic, what's going on with WrestleMania 41? The short of it is there's a whole lot of nothing going on. No, I'm just kidding. There's a whole lot going on with this. Let's get right into it, guys. So, WrestleMania 41, the location of that show has yet to be determined. This, according to a new report from WrestleVotes. Let's read it. Here is the quote that they put out on Twitter. After speaking with a reliable WWE source over the weekend, it seems that the chances of WrestleMania 41 being held in Minneapolis are decreasing each passing day. The longer we wait for an announcement, the stronger Las Vegas looks, said the source. While this doesn't mean that Minnesota is out of the running, the delay in announcing isn't part of any new strategy or rollout. WWE is reportedly keen on getting the word out as soon as possible. So there has been a lot of speculation about what WWE is going to do for WrestleMania next year. We heard, and for the longest time, it was expected that Minnesota was going to be the city. The Minneapolis was going to be the city. The Minneapolis City Council even put this to a vote and put out like this video where they were kind of celebrating bringing WrestleMania to Minneapolis. But we have not heard a city announced a year out from Mania, which was weird. We didn't get a preview of what the city would be at this year's WrestleMania, which was even weirder because that's something they usually do. You usually hear about what the next city is going to be right around the same time that the previous year's WrestleMania happened. So we're all kind of wondering what's going on here. Well, if they are thinking Vegas, and we've heard this over the last number of days, even The Undertaker went on his podcast recently and said that he heard that it's Vegas for WrestleMania next year. It calls into question a lot of things, namely, how strong was the bid that Minneapolis put in for WrestleMania to begin with? That is a question that only Minneapolis can answer at this point. But, a lot of people will tell you it's a no-brainer to have Las Vegas as the host city for WrestleMania compared to Minneapolis. And, it wouldn't be wrong. I mean, Vegas is a big market, there is that obvious attraction of bringing people to Las Vegas. There's a lot to do there. Although, if you ask me, it's a pretty overrated city, but that's just me personally. I don't really enjoy that stuff. But to a lot of people, there is an appeal for going to Las Vegas. So it makes sense bringing it there. You have a bunch of venues you could hold events at. There's the potential to even get a partnership with the Sphere. We know that WWE has a partnership with MSG, who I believe does own the Sphere. So if they're able to get a SmackDown in there, that would be out of this world. And I would love going to that show, because it would be, again, one of the coolest things they could do. It would be all spectacle. Wrestling would be whatever it was, but I'm sure that it's going to attract people. You compare that to Minneapolis, what are the amenities going to be? You have a new stadium in the US Bank Stadium, of course, that has a roof over it, which already better than Philly because it was freaking cold this year. But I think for WWE, right, this decision comes down to one thing and one thing only. It comes down to money. Who has the best bid? We know that bidding has been something that WWE has done for a lot of their big shows for a few years now. It speaks to the position the company is in as a business that they can have their PLEs bid for. We know Puerto Rico paid an exorbitant amount for having Backlash last year. We know that Cardiff paid a lot of money for Clash at the Castle. We know that right now there's a lawsuit that's being filed against WWE about disclosing the numbers for the Texas event that they had a few years ago. I believe is the Alamo Dome show a few years ago. So needless to say, WWE is making a whole lot of money off of these PLEs. And, again, I'm going to repeat the question. How strong was Minneapolis's bid? I think that's what it comes down to. And if it's a choice between Vegas paying more money and Minneapolis paying no money, like, Vegas makes more sense for WWE from strictly a business standpoint. You could argue that they should be bringing WrestleMania to more markets and all that kind of stuff, and I would love to see that. I would love to see a more equal distribution of where they go, but the reality is the cities that are going to invest the money into having WrestleMania are going to have WrestleMania, and the cities that don't aren't. And having it in Vegas, we saw the press and the hullabaloo and hoopla that press conference earlier this year had in Vegas. And I think that maybe it was when those conversations started happening about bringing WrestleMania there, because that was a big press event that, drew a lot of people and drew a lot of interest from the media. Granted, the Super Bowl was there, but hey, we'll see. But guys, I want to hear from you. What do you guys think about this news? Where do you want to see WrestleMania 41 held? Do you want to see it in Vegas? Do you want to see it in Minneapolis? Do you want to see it in your city? Let me know in the comments. And hey, while we're at it, let me know where you want to see WrestleMania 42 held. Baltimore or DC. Baltimore or DC. Don't bring it to New York. Well, I'm not going to MetLife Stadium again. Guys, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Until next time, keep it real.